We spend much of our time moaning about the millennials and the emerging Generation Z for their celebration of victimhood, puritanical levels of moral supremacy, and their love of cancelling anyone who doesn't agree with them, combined with a visceral hatred of free speech. But you know what? The more time that passes, the more I'm starting to feel compassion for them, rather than just a weary anger. The reason for this may have something to do with a small revelation I had over the Christmas period. I found myself feeling very down, following a difficult end to last year for me. These fortunately rare black dogs affect most of us, I'm sure, at some time or another, and having been there before, I'm blessed to have found a few simple curatives which help shut down a debilitating cycle of panic attacks and anxiety. I have tried pills of various descriptions and prescriptions, some of which worked for a while, all of which made me feel worse after a while. Obviously, this is just my experience. If medication works for you, then more power to you. But for me, the main things that make the grey go away are running or fishing. And that's pretty rich coming from someone who, in their 20s and 30s, spent a good few mornings leaning out the window, chain smoking, still doing that, after a heavy night trying to work out why these idiots were running around the park like a herd of mindless wildebeest. But now, with a few more years under my belt and a few more scars, I know that for me, when my mental health takes a dive, it's time to dust off the running shoes or find a riverbank. Now, I say this because I think how much simpler life was before the invention of this, and how much easier it was to switch the world off just for a while to revive yourself and restore. But this thing, this is a dopamine factory, and huge numbers of us, including me, are plugged in for far too long every day and hooked on the surges of serotonin it provides. Social media, email, WhatsApp, any meaningless hit we can find, which is why I do actually feel sorry for the generation which is coming after ours. Suicide rates between 15 and 24-year-old young men increased by 45% between 2007 and 2017, and for young women, 87%. It's horrifying. And that's before we even embarked on this insane public health experiment we're now trying to claw our way out of. These young people have been bombarded from day one with fear, fear, fear. The vast majority of it confected or dreamt up for clicks, likes, hates and comments. And now, as society begins to try and balance and refocus following the COVID hysteria, they haven't even got a minute to gather themselves before being bombarded by the sun monster and the climate emergency, which is going to burn them all to dust anyway. No wonder they're anxious and rudderless, if they are the generation who will have to face the apocalypse, which we, our generation and our forebears, created for them. No wonder they're angry. No wonder they don't want to have kids. No wonder they don't have time to talk things through. No wonder they are depressed. No wonder they feel like victims. No wonder they don't want to get drunk and have one-night stands. It's been left to them to save the world. And the rest of us can shut up or get out of the way. And when they're not contemplating the end of days, they're told that up is down, left is right, white boys are bad and privileged above all others, whether they have two pennies to rub together or not. The digital age is torturing these young minds into a mental health crisis, made all the worse by the catastrophic policies of the last surreal 2 years. There are no running shoe cures for them. They have no time to stand and stare. Everything must be done yesterday. They have a planet to save. Which brings me on to fishing. One of my other tricks to dodge the black dog is to find myself a quiet weir pool or a riverbank, create a simple rig, attach a hook with a blood knot, bait the hook, cast out into the burbling water and wait for the end of the rod to twitch or the float to slip under the surface, a sign that a fish of unknown size has taken an interest in the trap. I set it, me, Tarzan. For a sport which involves an awful lot of sitting around eating sandwiches, it is remarkably thrilling. In countries across the world, there are programs to get kids and young people in difficult circumstances out on the water, in nature, fishing, and the effect on their well-being is profound. And yet, our very own rivers and waterways in the UK are becoming ever more polluted. The River Wye, where I caught a specimen barbel, by the way, has been heavily polluted by industrial poultry farms nearby and by the products of intensive farming. This magnificent piece of water is slowly dying, and with it one of Mother Nature's own beautiful antidepressants, switching off, sitting still, and taking in the wonders of nature. And to the younger generation, we are sympathetic to the desires of you idealists to change the world, but I think perhaps you might feel less fearful if you were encouraged to change the world around you first, starting with little victories. It's all very well lying in the street, stopping traffic or smashing windows or throwing soup on masterpieces, but if you won't achieve anything other than upsetting people who support you need the most. Now, if you really wanted to get us on your side, give yourself a break from this doom grooming. How about find yourself your nearest waterway? Spend some time there. Maybe clean it up a bit. I bet the public would applaud you for that. And then one day, if you can bring yourself to have children, you can take them down the river to fish. Or you just carry on listening to the lies of those who sit smug and reclined in their private jets, flying from summit to summit, telling you that it's you, not them, who is destroying the planet.